Hey, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. This is Naaman with the DC Camp, branch of Great Millstone. Back here for another video. This time we're going to be talking about an incident that's been popping up lately. But first and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kodash. Alright, once again, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and therefore deserve double honors. Alright. Hey, salutations also go out to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and byways, pushing the truth across the four corners of the earth. All right, while we're trying to wake up the remaining hope of the elect, and you can certainly tell that it has had a great effect because everybody, whether they admit it or not, the thing that Great Millstone has done, has accomplished, is everybody's rereading their Bibles now. All right, and they're seeing um, again, whether they will admit it or not, all right, that what they were taught was bullshit. All right, lies, lies and bullshit. All right, someone know what I. Anyway, so this what we're getting into now is the incident that happened back in June. We're like a month out from being 57 years. All right. From when this incident took place. It's called the USS Liberty. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and roll the video. This is going to show you how, I apologize, wicked the American government is to try to push this under the rug. Now understand, we're talking about at its base here. Yes, we're talking about wickedness, but we're talking about so-called white supremacy. And that land is occupied by Edomites slash so-called white people. All right. So that is an outpost, a colonial setup out there. All right. It's colonialism. What they're doing to those people there, and we all know that neither of them belong there. It's not their land. All right. But the fraud that these people, these Israelis that they have perpetuated upon uh, the world, all right, that house of cards, that house of lies is falling apart. All right. Uh, and you have a lot of, but again, um, what's also uh, um, let's see, that you're seeing them clearly in violation of the rules that were set for everybody else. And I'm talking about the ICC and organizations like that, the World Court. And clearly they're saying, F you, we don't give a shit. And you got to ask yourself, well, now supposedly there's been arrest warrants issued, you know, but this has been going on for so long. And we keep telling you that it is the elite bankers who claim to be JOOs that run this world. So it shouldn't come, knowing that, it shouldn't come to as big a surprise as if you don't know this and you're out there, well, how come they're getting away with all this? And it goes back to what? Meyer Amschel Bayer. What did he say? Give me control of a nation's, I'm paraphrasing, give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the rules. That's the base of all this. All right? They know that eventually people still got to come to them. That's why the system has to be destroyed. Having said that, let's go ahead and view the video and keep what I said in mind, and I'm going to get a couple of scriptures here.
On June 6, 1967, Israeli Air Force fighters attacked Egyptian air bases, destroying 80% of their air assets. By June 7th, the air forces of Jordan and Syria were also destroyed, mostly on the ground, but the war was being monitored. The United States and other nations had a vested interest in what was transpiring in the Middle East, and gathering intelligence was critical for both political and strategic military planning. What was the USS Liberty? Why was it in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea during the Six-Day War? Why did Israeli air and naval forces attack an American ship? Why was so much effort put into the cover-up after the event? Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, a veteran of the United States Army and Marine Corps, former history professor, book author, and welcome to this episode of Forgotten History. The USS Liberty was a floating CIA intelligence gathering platform monitoring all transmissions from all sources involved in the 1967 Six-Day War. Israeli progress was followed as well as the Arab coalition of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, known as the United Arab Republic. As a result, Israel secured Sinai, all of Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. But Israeli intelligence had reported to Chief of Israeli Naval Operations, Admiral Issi Rahar, that a ship had fired upon El Arish in Sinai. This was proven to be a ruse. The only ship in that area was the USS Liberty, which flew the U.S. flag and was in international waters. In what was described by both President Lyndon B. Johnson and the Israeli government as a case of mistaken identity, Israeli air and naval assets attacked the USS Liberty on June 8th, killing 34 Americans and wounding 172 of the 294-man crew. Previously, the United States had announced that it had no naval forces within hundreds of...
Let me pause it right here because this president here, this is LBJ, all right? And I did a video from this very site. I can't remember how long ago it was, maybe a year, about all the investments that he had, all right, and his wife being a JOO, and there's been questions as to him being one also, all right. This was a very, very wicked individual right here. Alright, so I mean, how he got into the presidency, it's a lot of questions as to that because of the things I just mentioned. Hey, you know, like the saying goes, you know, there's big profit in war, even when it comes down to their own people. This is the thing about following anything blindly, all right? The people, especially when you look at the situation now with the homelessness, and what they're doing with actually just saying F you to the American citizen. All right, that's exactly what they're doing. But I'm gonna, you know, let me stop rambling. Let's go ahead and play this for time's sake because there's another part to this.
Miles of the battlefront on the floor of the United Nations a few days earlier. However, the USS Liberty was assigned to monitor the fighting. As a result of a series of United States communication failures, whereby messages directing the ship not to approach within 100 miles were not received by the Liberty, the ship sailed to within 14 miles off the Sinai coast. Also notified of the supposed attack upon El Arish were Colonel Shmuel Kislev, head of Israeli Air Force operations, and General Yeshayahu Benket, the head of Israeli Air Force intelligence. Kislev told his pilots that, quote, if they could confirm that it was a military ship, they could hit it, end quote. The naval contingent was also on the alert. Beniket wanted to have positive identification of the ship that may have been involved. Israeli Dassault Mirage fighters passed by and gave their report. The flight leader confirmed that it was an American ship. More Israeli fighters attacked at 14:05 hours for 20 minutes, firing cannons, machine guns, and rockets, and one report from the first pilot who hit the ship stated that oil was leaking. During that time, on board Liberty, radioman Terry Halbardier and Glenn Oliphant followed the captain's order and broadcast in the clear that they were under attack by unknown forces and needed assistance, but their communications antennae were then damaged. They performed a manual repair and began transmitting in the open as their secure channel was being jammed. The Sixth Fleet received the SOS and informed the commander of the carrier task force on board the USS Saratoga, Captain Joseph Tully, who called and launched 12 F-4 Phantom fighters to assist Liberty. And the hotline between Washington, D.C. and Moscow was activated. Moscow was informed that American aircraft were being launched only to surmise the situation regarding the Liberty, not to get involved in the war. But as the Phantoms were en route just minutes away from saving the Liberty, it was reported that Secretary of Defense Robert Strange McNamara mysteriously had them recalled. The only way a SecDef could do that was by presidential authority. Johnson knew the truth, and he was part of the problem. The next wave of Israeli aircraft arrived after the Phantoms returned to the Saratoga, and these were Dassault Super Mystiers with napalm and canister bombs. One pilot called out the ship's identification as Charlie Tango Romeo 5, and that there is no flag on her. This was a strange report, as the previous recon flight clearly stated that there was an American flag, and the ship was identified as such. It is believed that this call was made as a ruse to cover the Israelis should these attacks be recorded by third parties. When that transmission was made, Colonel Kislev ordered all aircraft to stop the attack, as he believed that the ship was, in fact, American from the call sign. But the Israeli commander of the torpedo boat squadron, Moshe Oren, stated that he was not informed that there was a recall from an attack, and was informed, in fact, that it was the Egyptian freighter, the El Qasir. Therefore, he launched 3 motor torpedo boats. The order to halt all attacks, which followed the second wave of fighters, was supposedly not received by the naval assets, whose 3 torpedo boats launched 6 torpedoes at the Liberty, with 5 failing to hit target, but the one that did contact killed 25 men and wounded many more. This account is in great dispute. However, the Israeli argument of misidentification fails for several reasons, one being that if they believed it was an Egyptian ship, why did they specifically jam the secure American radio frequency, which were specifically narrow bands? Another problem was the identification issue, in that the Liberty, at 10,150 tons, was 5 times larger than the ship they claimed to have mistaken for the Liberty. Both ships had totally different profiles. In addition, if the attack was a simple error, why were the Israeli jets unmarked, bearing no Israeli symbols, carrying no national identification, in violation of international law? Had the F-4 Phantoms from the Saratoga not been recalled, the torpedo boats would not have been able to engage, and the majority of the men would not have been killed and wounded. The official American position was that Israel called and said that they had recognized their mistake and the attack was over. So therefore, in response, McNamara recalled the jets. However, the attacks were then renewed for another 80 minutes. This was a strange development, since the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv reported that the Israelis had attacked a ship, but the nationality of the ship was yet undetermined by Israel. If this was true, how would McNamara know to recall the Phantoms, and that it was in fact the Liberty? The SOS was resent after the damaged antenna was repaired again, and it was picked up this time by the aircraft carrier USS America, and 2 ships were dispatched. 3 life rafts were deployed so men could get off the burning ship, but the torpedo boats focused their fire, destroying 2 of the life rafts and sweeping the decks to kill as many men as they could to prevent an evacuation. That act alone is a violation of the Geneva Convention, not to mention attacking a ship from a non-belligerent nation in international waters. Another strange development was when, after the 2-hour attack, the ship and crew headed to Malta, the Sixth Fleet commander, Rear Admiral Isaac Kidd, ordered the survivors to remove the ship's name from their uniforms. In fact, Admiral Kidd even ordered them to go ashore in civilian clothes, which the men were not supposed to have anyway. They were also told to grant no interviews and do not discuss the situation, even among each other. Otherwise, they would face court-martial and prison, or, even worse, for violating national security. Both Israelis and Americans involved had their opinions on what happened and why. One voice was that of Navy Captain Dr. Richard Kiefer, who was wounded badly himself but worked for 28 hours straight saving lives when he could. He received the Silver Star. Captain William McConaughey received the Medal of Honor for his efforts following the 13 repetitious attacks after his bridge crew were killed, himself badly wounded. His recollection was that the aircraft hit the ship from every direction in multiple waves. Since the attack involved the Israeli Air Force and Navy, that made it a combined arms attack, meaning that it was coordinated, which also meant that command authority came from the seat of government. The military did not simply attack an unknown ship in international waters, let alone an American ship, without orders. All the crew believed the ship was clearly identified as American, as there were reconnaissance aircraft that passed by close enough for the crew to look into the cockpits. Several high-ranking American military and political persons knew at that time that the attack was deliberate. The question was why. The cover-up was incredible. For example, the press was given limited information to downplay the event. The men were sworn to secrecy, and the Judge Advocate General of the Navy, Admiral Merlin Starling, was given only 24 hours to review the 600-page Court of Inquiry investigation report. He had great reservations about the veracity of the report. In fact, the Navy inquiry did not allow any testimony or evidence regarding the unmarked Israeli aircraft. No information was included about the life rafts that were shot up,
The fix
or
was in.
the electronics transmission jamming, or even McNamara's recall of the American fighters. This was the first and only time in U.S. history that a board of inquiry refused to accept testimony from American service members who survived an attack and only accepted the statements of the forces that had attacked them. Bill LeMay, a crewman, was given the name tag Smith, removed from a hospital ward with a dozen other patients and placed into a single room. A naval officer soon entered and told him that his name was now Smith, that he was never on the Liberty, and he was never to discuss the matter. In another completely absurd and totally insane turn of events, the Senate records, as well as the Medal of Honor Society.
Let me stop right there. And this is what, see, for you rah types that are so eager to go and fight, what, for this? Remember, this is 1967. All right? You're dealing with the same shit now. These same people. All right? But let me get a scripture real quick, because all this is coming out. As a matter of fact, let's go here. Let's go to... All right. Like I said, the House of Cards, the lies, it's falling apart, Salaki. It's falling apart. This is verse 17. It says, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad." See, this is what, let me get another one. All right, because as Yahweh Shai was doing when he was on the scene, all right, what do you think is going to happen with us? We're coming into those times because this devil is trying to protect He sees himself going down, so he's trying to. Hey, my point being, it's going to get rough out here. All right. The meaning of discipleship. Matthew 10:24. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. Who's our Lord? Yahweh Shai, right? Remember what he was going through when he was on the earth, all right, in the flesh, all right? It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? Think about all the bills that they're trying to get pushed. What's happening in Canada, all right, where they're trying to go back and jail people who have posted what they deem hate speech. Yes, that's what's going on now. 26, my point. Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. And this is what this devil is afraid of now, because that's why he's getting this legislation passed, all right, as a roundabout way to come at us. All right. So let's go back to the video. Let's see. All right. So before this starts, all right, so these people won awards. They were given names that were not theirs, all right, told that they never served on this ship. Isn't this some bullshit? Oh,
man. Recorded that Captain McGonagall's Medal of Honor was earned in Vietnam, not off the Sinai Peninsula. His Medal of Honor citation mentions no specific geographic location and does not mention who the enemy was. Also, this ship's log was also altered to fit the Israeli timeline, supporting that only after 20 minutes of engagement.
Did you catch that? Let's roll that back.
Also altered to fit the Israeli timeline, supporting that.
To fit the Israeli timeline. Covering up for them, even though they killed, what did he say, 24 and wounded however many else? Who's running this shit? Showing you where the power actually is. All right? It ain't America.
Only after 20 minutes of engagement, the ship was attacked for a total of 50 minutes and not 2 hours, breaking off contact after they realized their error. This was obviously not true. But why the cover-up? Why the attack? Over the years, logic mandates that the Israelis knew that the Liberty was a communications gathering spy ship and would be listening in on all communications, Arab and Israeli. Their push into the Golan Heights, as well as their attack in the Sinai, would have been recorded in real time by the Liberty. In fact, the director of the National Security Agency, Marshall Carter, stated that he believed the attack was deliberate so that Israel could maintain the secrecy of their operations. Sinking the ship and killing...
What the fuck has changed? All these reporters, all right, in Gaza now, all right, those attempting to make, you know, are being kept away because, hey, they're slaughtering those people over there. Telling them to go move over in this direction and bombing the hell out of them. All right, and this boogeyman, Hamas, all right, and we know what's at the bottom of this. They want to get that Ben Gurion Canal built, all right. It's all at the end of the day about the money. All right, but as it says in Ecclesiastes 1:9, there's no new thing under the sun, right? So again, you know where the power actually lies. They're willing to do this. This is 57 years ago, all right, to cover up for these bastards, and they're doing the same thing again. But the difference is, between then and now, is technology. All right, despite their trying to cover up shit like they did with when Iran retaliated with class, I might add. Hey, we're warning you 4 or 5 hours in advance. This is what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And then they still covered up the fact that, well, a lot of their shit, and this is their rudimentary shit, you know. This is not their top of the line armaments. They got through and fucked up some shit, but because they control the media, the masses didn't get that. See all this propaganda, all right? Man, this place got to go. Continuing on.
All on board was the only way for Israel to have accomplished that mission. The CIA transcripts were handed to the American ambassador in Lebanon at that time. The transcripts clearly show that the pilots, upon reaching Liberty, reported that it was an American ship. Their war room ordered them to attack. Again, the flight commander repeated his warning that the ship was American. Again, he was told, "You have your orders."
You have your
and the
orders.
attack started. These reports were also supported by an EC-121 airborne surveillance aircraft operated by the National Security Agency, which also recorded these transmissions, confirming that Israel knew the ship was American. They even stated in their own radio transmissions that they saw the flag. And this was true for both the air and naval assets involved in the attack, contradicting their official statements. What came to light later was the justification for sinking the Liberty and killing the crew. Moshe Dayan, the commander-in-chief of Israeli forces, had ordered the attack. This was due to the fact that Israeli commanders in the field were authorized to execute Egyptian prisoners of war rather than lose time transporting and securing them. Israeli military
Again, nothing new under the sun. They just found at least one mass grave with over 300 people in it. They had been, their hands tied. I don't know if their feet were bound, but they were executed. Some, they even speculate that some were even buried alive. These are the pieces of shit, all right, that you are told are the chosen people, and we clearly know that they are not. These are the lying, ruthless bastards, all right, that have control of America, AIPAC, all right, controlling all these elections here, and they have the nerve to talk about election interference in other countries. You see the hypocrisy here? They're actually, AIPAC is in the process, I mean this is ongoing now, of trying to remove a lot of Jakes out of office because they know they're not going to go along with shit like this. All right?
historian Uri Milstein claimed that there were many incidents in the 1967 war in which Egyptian soldiers were killed by Israeli troops after they had raised their hands and surrendered. It was not an official policy, but there was an atmosphere that it was okay to do it, Milstein said. Some commanders decided to do it, others refused, but everyone knew about it.
If you can't see that these people are the wicked, that the Bible, the scriptures talk of, you are truly blinded. Did you just not hear what he said? People have surrendered. This clearly goes against the Geneva Convention, all right? But these people don't give a fuck because they realize that at the end of the day, like I just stated when I quoted Moses Amshir Bauer, all right? They know that those that rule this world, the elite bankers, got their back. That's the true power, not your fucking politicians. All right? This is all set up. That's why I said this system, this beast system, has to be destroyed and brought down. All right? Let's see. Continuing on.
Classified Israeli Defense Force documents show that on June 11, 1967, the operations branch of the General Staff felt it necessary to issue new orders concerning the treatment of prisoners. The order read that, because existing orders were contradictory, thus: 1. Soldiers and civilians who surrendered were not to be hurt by any means. 2. Soldiers and civilians who possessed a weapon and failed to surrender would be killed. However, soldiers caught disobeying the order by killing prisoners would be severely punished. Now this appears to be damage control and could only have been issued from Dayan due to the Israeli knowledge that they did not destroy the Liberty and that intercept transmissions could prove these criminal actions. This appears to be a classic case of covering their collective rear ends. If this information were to have gotten out, it would prove that Israel was committing war crimes, and the Liberty was a known intelligence gathering source. Israel's legitimacy was already in question, since they launched the preemptive strike on Arab airfields, as their intelligence supposedly had information that the Arab forces were preparing to launch attacks against Israel. American officials at the highest level would have known this, including President Johnson and Robert McNamara. It does not take a great stretch of logic to understand why the cover-up took place, and from where it originated. The United States could not afford to have its great ally Israel accused of war crimes. The USA and NATO also had great interest in seeing the Israelis win, because a victory would reduce the effectiveness of the influence the Soviet Union had with the United Arab Republic.
Let's look up that, because an ally, all right, to place in a friendly association as by treaty, to unite or connect in a personal relationship as in friendship or marriage. Okay, but they're running the shit. All right. To form or enter into an alliance. All right, let's go to Miriam. All right. Yeah, okay. A sovereign or state associated with another by treaty or league. All right. One that is associated with another as a helper. A person or group that provides assistance and support in an ongoing effort, activity, or struggle. All right, but it's supposed to be mutual, is my point. But, I mean, everybody knows now that these people are not who they claim to be. All right. Let's see. Oh, man. All right, let's go dictionary.com. Keep talking about treaties and shit like this. All right. Yeah, I said, just like I said, to associate, number 2 here, or connect by some mutual relationship as resemblance. You damn right it's a resemblance of friendship, but again, they have that little, again, goes back to showing you who has the power to spite. All right. And that interview with, who was it, Bill Maher, when he asked Netanyahu how you can, I think he already knew the answer, him being one of them people too. I wish I had it thought to put it up. How they could, what was his words? How they could, something to the effect how they could wage war so effectively, and Netanyahu replied, because we have America. And they do. They have America, not the other way around. They have America. All right. Oh, so let's go back to the video. Just a little bit left in this one, and there's another video. So bear with me.
Republic, which was the coalition of Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. It would also hopefully reduce the interest of Saudi Arabia in funding the United Arab Republic, triumvirate, if their efforts seemed to be a lost cause. An Israeli victory would have also ensured that the Suez Canal would remain open, which benefited the USA and NATO. The U.S. had good reasons for a cover-up.
Going back to, again, what I mentioned earlier about the real reason why they want those people out of that area, Gaza, because they want, he mentioned the Suez. They don't have control over that. So what they want is their own canal, called the Ben Gurion Canal. Look it up. All right.
There are contradictory reports available where U.S. officials claimed to have debunked the murders of Egyptian POWs as the reason for the attack, supporting the Israeli attack as mistaken identity. That is also part of the cover-up, because later, murdered Egyptian soldiers were found in shallow graves, and the Israeli government offered reparations to the families of the men who were identified. In May 1968, the Israeli government paid 3.32 million US dollars, the equivalent of $28 million in 2022, to the U.S. government in compensation for the families of the 34 men killed in the attack. In March 1969, Israel paid a further $3.57 million, or $28.5 million in 2022, to the men who had been wounded. In December 1980, it agreed to pay $6 million, or $21.3 million in 2022 money, as the final settlement for material damage to Liberty itself, plus 13 years of interest. Several prominent Americans, generals, admirals, and even Medal of Honor recipients, as well as the surviving crew, have asked for a full congressional investigation into the attack and the cover-up for decades. Personally, I doubt that will ever happen. Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please click like, subscribe, and share. Send us comments and show ideas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time.
So there you go. Let's look at part 2. All right.
Hello, thank you for watching Forgotten History once again. This is Colin Heaton, your humble host, and in a subsequent follow-up to our USS Liberty video, we have the great privilege of interviewing Mr. Phil Turney, who was on the Liberty and is a survivor, and he can give you his first-person perspective, which should deflate some of the negative comments we had about the video, and there's nothing like going straight to the source. And on that note, I introduce Mr. Phil Turney, and he will tell us about himself and what he was doing on that mission.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Colin, for the invite. And my name again is Philip F. Turney. I was a third-class petty officer in damage control, June 8, 1967. That was my GQ station, General Quarters. About 15 minutes before the attack began, we had just secured from General Quarters, which was a drill we did out at sea for different situations, chemical, biological, boarding ship, and things like this. That particular day, it happened to be chemical war. And so we're pretending like we were washing down the ship with salt water, and it was very, very hot that day. I almost passed out in my impregnated suit, which is supposed to protect you from chemicals. Who knows? Anyway, I secured from my general quarter stations. I knew the sound-powered phones were working on the starboard gun mount. I got an ice seaman up there, David Skolak, to get the sound-powered phones working, which is internal communications of the ship. I left that area about, 45 seconds before the attack started. At that moment, when the attack started, the USS Liberty had been surveilled many, many times by the Israeli Air Force, identifying our ship. They waved at us and we waved at them. But anyway, the attack started around 2 o'clock. The 2 men I just left in the forward gun mount were blown to bits, blown completely to bits. Every antenna on that ship was hit. Within 3 to 4 seconds, they were all down. We had no communication with the outside world. We had no ways to defend ourselves. They took out our 450 caliber machine guns with their attacking jet aircraft, Mystere and Mirage jets, that attacked our ship for approximately 25 to 30 minutes, killing and wounding as many people as they could on deck. We thought the attack might be over when the airplanes left, but little did we know. And we didn't know who was attacking us, Colin. We had no idea who was attacking us. We thought it had to be the Arabs because Israel was our best buddies in the whole wide world. Why would they want to attack us? In fact, we were happy to see them fly over us. We'd wave and they'd wave and drop their wings, and very friendly attitude. We didn't know who was attacking, as I said before, and we didn't understand who was attacking us till the torpedo boats got there. 3 torpedo boats flying the Star of David. We thought they were coming there to help us. No, they were coming there to kill the rest of us and sink our ship. They fired 5 torpedoes at us. 4 missed by the grace of God. 1 did hit a little bit forward midships. 25 American sailors, Marines, National Security Agency, CIA personnel were blown to bits in the blink of an eye. The torpedo picked our ship up completely up out of the water. And it came back down slamming and slamming and slamming and went to the right, to the starboard side. And I thought, uh-oh, here we go. It's going to roll over. And it just stopped. Just stopped. We put over what life rafts we did have. We had 3 life rafts left for a crew of 294 souls. We only had 3 left. We were going to, because they shot them all up. They shot our life rafts up, or they burned them up with napalm. That's how ruthless it was. When
So they had no intent of anyone surviving that. All right. Those Israelis. All right. Just so you, yeah.
put the life rafts over, they shot 2 out of the water
No
and
witnesses.
took 1 aboard their boat as a trophy of their kill. The Israelis did. They circled the ship and circled the ship, machine gunning, firefighters, stretcher bearers, anything that moved to destroy our ship. They did it. We thought the attack was over again. No, the attack was not over. They sent troop-carrying helicopters to finish us off. Israeli Marines ready to board our ship, and all of a sudden they just left. They just left. I assumed that the jig was up, that they had been caught, and they did get caught. They couldn't sink us like they planned. With the blessings of our government, LBJ, from his government onto the Biden government and all Congresses in between, have never lifted a finger to get an investigation we've been hollering for 56 years because they're afraid of offending their ally, Israel. So that's pretty much the attack, but there was 850 rocket and cannon holes in the ship, over 5,000 armor-piercing bullets in the ship, napalm burning this up, approximately a 40 by 40 foot hole in the starboard side, listing badly.
Damn.
We never received any help from our government. Little did we know that aircraft were sent to help us from USS Saratoga by Captain Joe Tully and USS America Captain Engen. They did send aircraft to come help us, but they were recalled. If they would allow the aircraft to get to our site, they could have driven off the torpedo boats and 25 American lives would have been spared. Young men, 18, 20, 21, 25-year-old young men blown to bits instantly. And our government left us out there for 17 hours. They were hoping we'd sink that night. It was nothing but chaos that night. Bodies everywhere, bleeding, being patched up by Doc Keefer. I helped in one operation in the sick bay. Gary Blanchard was on the operating table, and moments later, after Doc cut him open, he was dead. We put him in a bag and continued on with the other operations. That went on all night. So please go ahead.
Well, your captain was remarkably given the Medal of Honor for what he managed to do to save the ship and try to save the crew, but there was some sort of innocuous anomaly with regard to the citation and to the circumstances in the official record. Could you address that?
Yes, sir, I can. Captain McGonigal received the highest medal this country can give a service member, the Medal of Honor. Never before in the history of the United States that I'm aware of, and anybody else that I've talked to, the Medal of Honor was not given to the recipient by the President of the United States. Rather, it was given at a naval yard in Virginia Beach, Virginia, secure away from everybody else, no fanfare, no nothing, and it was pretty disgusting what they did to him. There's a lot of things that went on with the Medal of Honor and why and what for, and there's a lot of discussion about our captain. Did he sell us out or did he not or whatever? Uh, that's a possibility. Getting the medal or whatever. But his heroic actions, and I witnesses. I was on the bridge with him. I witnessed his heroic heroism. But those hours and days we were together, taking that ship back to Malta. He did everything in his power to help us and save everybody he could. So, with that being said, yeah, he got a dirty deal, and I think the crew got a dirtier deal.
Well, what exactly was the Liberty's mission being in that part of the Mediterranean? Now, the official record states that the ship either was not there and was there by accident, or was there in a capacity yet to be determined, or was there to spy on Israel, or was there to spy on the Egyptians. So there's so much rumor control running crazy on this operation. Why don't you tell us what was going on?
Absolutely. We were off the coast of Africa. We stopped in, I believe it was Abidjan, to just have R&R, rest and relaxation. We've been to sea for quite a while. Now, our ship, USS Liberty, was the most sophisticated spy ship in the world, and one of the most easiest to identify. In fact, Admiral Thomas Moore, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and a very decorated, highly decorated admiral, said our ship was the easiest ship in the world to identify. In fact, it looked like a very large lobster. There's no way Israel could not identify our ship. We got emergency orders to leave Africa, and we didn't know where we were going. He said, this has never happened to us before, and I'd been aboard that ship 3 years. We took off from Abidjan. We didn't know where we was going. We ended up in Rota, Spain. We picked up three Marines. They were linguists, and one CIA or NASA, National Security Agency personnel. So there was 4 we picked up and some supplies, and here we headed off into the Mediterranean. We knew there was a 6-day war going on, but we didn't know what our mission was. Of course, I wasn't a spy. I was in ship's company. But after 56 years, I know what went on down there and things like that. But yeah, we were sent there to spy on the Egyptians. We were forbidden not to spy. We could not listen into, or if they picked up any messages from Israel, they dropped it immediately, or the Europe command in England. We were to drop them immediately and only listen to the Arabs or any other traffic, the Russians or whatever that's in the area. So our mission was, yeah, we were a spy ship. We were there to spy. It was perfectly legal. Everybody does it. And they knew who we were before we got there. They identified us a day before the attack. So their explanation of a mistaken identity is a flat-ass lie. Just like Johnson's, the Board of Inquiry, they had it wrapped up in 7 days when it should take well over a year to investigate this type of damage and death. 2/3 of the crew were either dead or wounded. 2/3 out of 294 were dead or wounded. That's a hell of a, I just hate to say it, the agony and pain those men suffered. I was wounded, but not severely. They call it a walking wounded. I was very, very fortunate.
Well, from the reports I read, it looked like that, and I've never seen this before in anything in 40 years of doing research. I've never seen such constraints placed upon a reviewing authority on an investigation with limited access to witnesses and basically what appears to be witness intimidation with regard to the visitation of the wounded in the hospitals. I mean, address that one, please.
Yes, it was the Board of Inquiry was made up of Admiral Isaac Kidd. He was a flag admiral, and Captain Ward Boston. He was the JAG officer that came along with Admiral Kidd. They interviewed all of us aboard ship. We told them what we saw, what we thought, whoever you had, how come you didn't come help us? Why would the Israelis do this? We opened our hearts up to them. We thought they were here for us. When we got through being interviewed, the Admiral said, listen, if any of you SOBs ever breathe a word about what happened to you and your ship, I'll guarantee you, you will end up in Leavenworth or worse. And we all know what worse meant. Our government had just abandoned us twice from not helping us and then abandoned us by telling us we're going to end up in jail or death for telling the truth. So the Board of Inquiry that lasted 7 days was ordered by Lyndon Baines Johnson to find the Israelis, saying it was a mistake in identity when nothing could be farther from the truth. So the cover-up continues then as it does today, and it just seems like with technology like we have today, Colin, that we can reach out somewhere, and get the help we need. The American people got attacked. It was an act of war on a sovereign country by the Zionist state that were set up to do this. They knew what they were doing. They wanted to sink us fast, blame it on Egypt, and start a World War III. And that almost happened. We were this close to World War III.
See, so the same actions, and we keep bringing out this scripture also. Let's go to Jeremiah, because this has been coming out a lot lately, and this is exactly what they're doing. So there's a pattern here, folks. This is Jeremiah chapter 49. The prophecy starts at 7 against Edom. This is the so-called white man. All right, we get down here to 20. It says, therefore, hear the counsel of the Most High Yahweh, that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes, that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. So you're hearing all this, all right? Now, like I said, this is a pattern here, all right? And the world has let them get away with this for oh so long, all right? And like I said, now the lies are being exposed, all right? And like this has been going on for oh so long, all right?
If our ship sinks, by the grace of God, it didn't.
Now, we know that the Israelis sent Dassault Mirages and another aircraft in the first two waves. And as you stated previously, that they flew by, you waved at them, they waved at you. Some of the reports were saying that the Israelis claimed that there was no U.S. ensign flying from the masthead, which, of course, I don't believe for a second. And that there was an unidentified ship, that they thought it was an Egyptian trawler or a cargo vessel, which, if you do the comparative analysis of what they claimed they thought it was, there's no silhouette or nomenclature similarity whatsoever to the two ships. So were the aircraft unmarked, as has been reported?
The reconnaissance aircraft were marked with the Star of David.
Mm-hmm.
The attacking aircraft were blackened out. We couldn't tell who was attacking us.
Mm-hmm.
There was no markings on them. We just assumed it was the Arabs. When we got message out, probably maybe 5 or 10 minutes after the attack started, Rockstar, we're under attack by unknown jet aircraft. The Saratoga picked it up and the America picked it up. Saratoga launched Cap Tully launched a ready aircraft to come help us. Those were recalled. American launch. Those were recalled. They went back to base. Go back to base, and that's where they stayed. So yeah, there's a lot of missing. Well, there's not really a lot of missing puzzles. It's just a lot of missing truths and half lies and lies about this whole deal.
Well, having been a soldier and a Marine, serving in both branches, and having been on ships, and I know Navy protocol fairly well, as well as DOD. The only way that those aircraft would have been recalled was if that was an order issued through either SecNav, SecDef, maybe even the White House. Those aircraft should not have been recalled on a ship's captain or a fleet admiral's order without higher authority, in my opinion. What do you think?
That's exactly what happened. We went to the chain of command went to the higher authority, and it went to McNamara, and the admiral, I believe it was Admiral Martin. I could be wrong, but I believe it was Admiral Martin that asked for a clarification of the message traffic, that it was, not to help the Liberty. And then Johnson got on the phone and he said, recall the GD aircraft. I don't care if every sailor on that ship dies. I will not embarrass my ally Israel.
That's a pretty condemning statement. And I don't know if you saw, we have a video on Lyndon Johnson, but we went through a lot of his garbage, but we didn't mention the Liberty for a reason, because that is a separate video. But this will supplement that Liberty video. But here's a question that I have, and I know a lot about Israeli military protocol. I know because I trained with them. I was with them. And one thing I do know, that Moshe Dayan, who was operating as basically the general director of the entire Six-Day War, I mean, he ran the headshed. My question would be, the Israelis could not have seriously considered this to be a mistaken identity issue for two reasons. Primarily because Israeli protocol, like most militaries, have secure and basically proven target identification protocols to follow before they can engage anything. You just don't engage something because it's there. You have to identify the target. And if they claimed that it was an Egyptian ship, then that would have been transmitted through their communications, which were being picked up by the NSA aircraft doing overt surveillance overhead. But the transmission traffic, as noted by the ambassador in Tel Aviv, as well as in Beirut, Lebanon, seems to disprove that theory, that they knew exactly what the hell was going on and who you were and what the ship was, because there was no cloud of mystery with regard to target identification. And the cockpit chatter between the pilots and the command and control center, what little bit has been surfacing over the past few decades, seems to show that Dayan and even his chief of naval operations, who launched the torpedo boat attacks, there was no ambiguity. They knew exactly what they were going for. But that seems to have been lost in the shuffle with regard to the greater cover-up in general. What do you think about my plausibility theory on that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. As you well know, the Israeli IDF pride themselves on their, in a better way, I don't know if a better way to put it, but being the best, identifying this, identifying that. They knew exactly what they were doing, and it was a pre-planned attack. This attack probably was pre-planned for possibly a year in advance of the June 6th war. And we were part of that cabal to get in there, and we were the sacrificial lambs. Our own government set us up to be executed. And that's exactly what happened. We've been screaming like at the top of our lungs for our dead shipmates, for their families, for America, the truth. Our country is founded on values. Our republic demands that we.
Yeah, right.
Our republic demands the truth, and we don't have truth anymore, then or now. I hate to say that, but I'm 76 years old. I've seen a little bit of the world, and it's just not right. You know, this is my fourth time as being president of the LVA. I'm the current president now. It's my great honor to be president of the LVA. But I represent these men that never made it home, and their grieving families that still grieve, their brothers and their sisters that still grieve. We have a reunion every year. This year, we're going to have a reunion in this coming year, excuse me, in June, in Washington, D.C. area. And I'd like you to come along and film it if you would like. Colin, be something. I think love to meet all the guys, meet their families.
That
They
sounds
got a lot of stories.
When is that exactly?
It's going to be it'll be in June. I'm not sure of exactly what date, but we always try to get there on June the 8th and have a service at Arlington National Cemetery for the 6 men who were blown to bits. They couldn't identify their bodies. They're in a mass grave in Arlington. And I might add, in that mass grave, when they first put the names up, they had killed in the Eastern Mediterranean. Like we got killed in a car, they killed in a car wreck or something. Admiral Thomas H. Moore had that changed to killed aboard USS Liberty. No mention of Israel. Any medals that we received, no mention of Israel on there. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
No, I haven't.
You get,
Oh, well, no, let me correct that. Yes, I have heard of being given an award with a plausible deniability factor thrown into the citation that doesn't really reflect the action or the location. But yes, I personally have some firsthand experience with that.
Yes, sir. I didn't know if you had that, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. It's a cover-up. They hid it. On my citation, it doesn't say anything about Israel. Nothing. It's like a ghost attacked us. On the old man's Medal of Honor, it says nothing about Israel.
Right. I read the original citation, and it mentioned Vietnam as the theater, and then it was revised later to be less plausible, I suppose. But it doesn't really state the action or the location or the belligerent. It just says for action against a belligerent force, but it doesn't really say Israel, unless they changed it.
No, they have not. I tried to get mine changed, and they said they cannot change an official document.
Sure they can.
I said, I know they can. All I wanted was one word in there, Israel.
Yeah, they change documents all the time. I mean, just look at the Bidens and Obama. They change stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But what I want to do is go into the aftermath of the situation, the reparations that Israel, paid, and I have some issues with that, and I'm sure you do. And the fact that there was never really anything resembling a formal explanation on the part of Israel, unless there's something I'm missing, or an apology. I mean, I do realize they said, yeah, we're sorry for hitting you by mistake and this, that, and the other. But subsequent administrations in Israel, whether the Knesset or the Prime Minister, at that time, Golda Meir was very quiet about this during her time when she was prime minister, because it came up in the early 70s again, and she was prime minister. This was during the Nixon administration. And nothing came out of her office that would even address the issue. And in subsequent prime ministers, even Netanyahu, for example, who's been prime minister several times, what has he said about this, if anything, if you're aware?
I'm not aware of Netanyahu saying anything other than the talking points of it was a mistaken identity. We're sorry. We paid reparations. And reparations, okay. Most of the crew got several $100s a piece for their clothes, not for their wounds, not for anything. The most seriously wounded got more money, and they deserved every penny of it. The $6 million they paid for a $40 million ship wasn't even paid by Israel. Our government gave them the money, or they took it out of what they gave them. But the American people paid for it. They got $6 million for a $40 million ship at that time. $40 million ship in 1967 was a heck of a lot of money. So, no, I'm not satisfied with what they gave us, but I am satisfied with to get out there with my life, and my other shipmates get out there with their lives, and that's what our association is all about. We're here for the truth. Let the chips fall as they should. If the cookie crumbles, it's going to fall on this country, and it's going to fall on Israel. for what they did and what they did to America. I don't care. They could have said no, we're not going to do it. But for the greater good of Israel and for the greater good of the Johnson administration, they wanted us all dead and blame it on the Egypts. Well, Nasser is who they wanted. They hated Nasser. So Johnson. They hated Nasser. So they wanted to get rid of him. But our ship not sinking prevented World War III, and that's a fact. We can prove it.
Well, I think we've covered all the primary information, but let me ask you something on a more personal level. How have you been okay over the decades, knowing what you went through, what your shipmates went through, the families? I'm sure you're probably still in contact with some of the families of the men who did not come home.
Oh yes, we have contact. In fact, Michael Brown, he's a brother of Francis Brown. He died at the helm. He received the Navy Cross for that. He never left his duty station. When I was up on the bridge, was trying to fight fires with the CO2 canister because we didn't have water. All the hoses were shot up. And I saw Francis. He was at the helm, just steady, in control, but I never said a word to him. And he was my good friend. We shot pool together, had beer, drank beer together and everything. I got back on the bridge and he lay dead right there with his head blown off. Not blown off, but very, very severely, damaged.
Well, Philip, I appreciate the time. We've covered just about everything on the ground with regard to all the subject matters and all the talking points that I brought up to you earlier. And okay. I think what we can do later is probably plan something. If you get some of the other survivors together, maybe we could have like a video forum, and maybe do it in a forum setting where you have several guys on the video, and we can get other perspectives as well for a later edition. But I just want to say thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I can get that done at a later time. If you want crew members there, I'll get them there for you.
Sounds good, sir.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you.
You, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please click like, subscribe, and share. Send us comments and show ideas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time.
And this is why, even more so for our people, like I said, these devils have been allowed, and I stress allowed, to do what they have done. As it says in 2 Thessalonians, 2nd chapter, all right? Let me get that real quick, all right? Because they just swear this is by their own power. In fact, now that I said it like that, let's get Isaiah 10, all right? The hubris of these devils, the proud, all right? This is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 13. It says, I'll start at 12. Wherefore it shall come to pass that when the Lord hath performed his work, his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria, to substitute America, the whole elite of Edom, and the glory of his high looks. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent, and I have removed the bounds of the people, and have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. All right? And my hand hath found as a nest the riches of the people, and as one gathereth eggs that are left, have I gathered all the earth. And there was none that moved the wing, or opened the mouth, or peeped. All right? Shall the axe boast itself against him that heweth therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shaketh? As if the rod should shake itself against them that lift it up, or as if the staff should lift up itself, as if it were no wood. Meaning, you damn devils, all right, that you're being manipulated. Like you yourself pride yourself on manipulating those that you consider beneath you. Think about that, all right? So let's go to where I was going to go in the first place. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians 2. The man of lawlessness. This is who we're talking about here. All right, the man of lawlessness, the wicked. All right. Let's see. I'll start at 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. Remember, I talked about that house, briefly about that house of cards. The house of lies is coming down, the son of perdition or destruction, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he, as the Most High, sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. Remember, he thinks for some reason that he's on par, on some level, with the Most High. Remember ye not that when I was with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And it's time for him to be taken out of the way. He's being brought down, he's being brought low. 8, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. How's it being done? By the prophets. All right. Let's see. Hosea, is it 5 and 6? Hold on here. Let's see. Hosea 5 and 6. And it says, hold on. I keep getting this slacking. 6 and 5. I always do that. This is Hosea chapter 6, verse 5, and it says, therefore have I hewed them by the prophets. All right. Let's skip that real quick. Let's see. Therefore have I hewed them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and thy judgments are as the light that goeth forth. You got all this legislation that's coming forth, all right, trying to protect these devils. All right, I hewed them by the prophets, that is, I announced by the prophets that they should be hewn asunder like trees of the forest. All right, the Most High identifies his act with that of his prophets. All right, the word being his instrument for executing his will. Jeremiah 1:10, see, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. Ezekiel 43 and 3. And it was according to the appearance of the vision which I saw, according to the vision that I saw when I came to destroy the city. And the visions were like the vision that I saw by the river Kebar, and I fell upon my face. All right, so this is done by the prophets. All right. So this devil knows he's going down. He's being exposed. That's the whole point of the day, the time and that we're in now. All this is coming to the light. Remember, I read Luke 8 and 17. There's also Luke 12 and 2. I read Matthew 10 and 26. All right, the things that the Lord went through, because he was out there telling it like it is. All right, not worried about, the government in his day. Same thing we're doing today. So we're going to go through the same things that he went through. Even our own people, all right, are going to be against us. I wonder why. So that's going to do it. I think that was it. Let's see. I'll end it with this. Let's see. Psalms 92. Because they have been allowed to flourish, to get away with all that they have gotten away with, and this is why their pride has been allowed to increase to such greater than even ancient Pharaoh. All right. This is Psalms 92, verse 7. All right. It says, when the wicked spring up as grass, and when all the workers of iniquity do flourish, it is that they shall be destroyed forever. That is a guarantee. All right. But thou, Most High Yahweh, art most high forevermore. For lo, thine enemies, O Most High Yahweh, for lo, thine enemies shall perish. All the workers of iniquity shall be scattered. But my horn shalt thou exalt, like the horn of an unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. All right. Mine eye also shall see my desire on mine enemies, and mine ear shall hear my desire of the wicked shall rise up against me. All right. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. All right. Those that be planted in the house of the Most High Yahweh shall flourish in the courts of our power. All right. And like I say, that's a guarantee, like the late comedian slash chef Justin Wilson used to say with his Cajun ass. All right. I guarantee. All right, so that again, we were dealing with what the USS Liberty incident that happened June 8th, 1967. All right, we're coming up here on the 57th anniversary of that incident, and like we were going through, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. They're still protecting them fuckers over there. All right, and you gotta ask the question: well, who's really in control here? All right, I think you got your answer. So with that, once again, I like to say, as I say at the ending of every video, I hope everyone is edified who views this. All right, because that's what we do here at Great Millstone. Filter everything through the scriptures, look up words, etc. All right, so that's the only way you're going to learn and understand. All right. I also like to stress the importance of prayer and fasting. So with that, until the next video, shalom.